You're now listening to Let the Jameson Sink In with your hosts, Violet and Pav, where we discuss your anonymous perspectives and tea on real-life topics from relationships, sex, politics, celebrity gossip, and everything in between.
Welcome to the first episode of Let the Jameson Sink In. We are your hosts, Violet and Pav.
Hey guys, this is an interactive podcast where each week we post a dilemma topic with questions and collect your anonymous responses to discuss on the show. At the end of every month, the weekly dilemmas are shared on our Instagram stories and highlights and on Twitter polls, Sundays from midday.
Okay, so if you would like to share your perspective on the hottest topics from relationships, sex, politics, celebrity gossip, and everything in between, all you have to do is follow us at letthejameson.podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Then DM us your responses directly to our inbox, because this is a way that we can keep it anonymous. And then finally, all you have to do is just stay tuned. It's every last Sunday of the month for the podcast episode, and it will be available on all major podcast sites, including Spotify and YouTube.
So for episode 1, topics that we have for today are dating or marrying outside of your normal traditions, culture, or religion. And the second one is dating preferences versus prejudices. So to help us unpack and discuss these topics, we have 2 guests. So let me introduce Janu and Taylor. Say hi, guys.
Hi.
What's up?
So I met Janu only this year, actually, about a couple of months ago, actually, on Clubhouse. I've never actually officially met you either. It's just been virtually. But yeah, we met on Clubhouse through mutual friends. Johnny is just incredible. Like all the stuff that she's taught me and teaches people within our community, just incredible. And plus she does these like book readings and just for at nighttime to put people to sleep, and it always works. So yeah, if you guys want to sort of introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Taylor, this is actually the first time meeting Taylor, so hey Taylor.
What's up, guys? My name is Taylor Goring. I'm a regular 30-year-old. I am a chef and a tennis instructor, and I'm married to this beautiful lady right here.
Aw. He's also an anime nerd and spends all his spare time reading mangas and pretending to bet on sports that he won't bet on, that I'm aware of.
Knowledge is power. I've learned so many large words and expanded my vocabulary from all of these quote-unquote manga or children's comics. So I'm just saying it's working.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy hearing about them. Anyways, my name is Janu. I am Toronto based. I wouldn't say, did you say you're a regular 30-year-old? Mm-hmm. I am like above average 30-year-old.
Love it.
I work in beauty, lifestyle marketing / media, and I'm an artist. I write a lot. I cook a lot. I bake bread, probably more than I need to. And I'm also married to this lovely man beside me.
Did you bake bread before lockdown or during lockdown or?
No, it really started during.
Yeah, I made a lot of it.
I just kept seeing everybody posting, and I was like, okay, like I could do this.
I kept seeing it, and I was just too late. Like everyone was making banana bread and that coffee thing. Dalgona coffee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
When we see it, I have this like problem where I'm like, I could do it better.
And you're like, oh, let me just do it.
And then I keep doing it until I'm like, this is perfect.
No, my thing was like, I saw that you had to buy ingredients like and that I didn't have in the house, and I was like, yeah, I can't be bothered. I'm just not going to bother.
Sounds like
I definitely got into baking during lockdown as well. My mom just set up this online class with me and my younger sister.
Oh, cool.
And we had to do it virtually because obviously I was in Toronto and my mom and my sister in the UK. And then she was like teaching us how to bake a new recipe cake every week. So all my friends just loved coming over like every Friday for all the cake, because I'm like, okay, I can't eat this because I'm actually just gonna just ruin all my body goals, or like I'm trying to work out like 5 days a week and I'm have all this cake in the house. But yeah, it was really fun.
I still haven't had any, just saying.
When I'm back, I will bake you a cake, especially. Just tell me which one you like.
All right, cool.
I'll do it and cook for you. I promise I'll do it. I had an epiphany last night, guys. I made a random recipe. It was like bangers and mash, but like Jamaican style. So I just use like Jamaican jerk sausages. And it was so nice. I literally turned to Sam, because he's there staying with me. And I was like, these words have never come out of my mouth ever. Like, people always tell me, but I'm always like, okay, yeah, fine. But I could cook, Like, I just went down in the kitchen. I was like, how did I just make this a very random, just British dish taste so nice? And like, yeah, like, I can actually cook. But
for context, bangers and mash is sausage and mashed potatoes.
Potatoes?
Yeah.
Potatoes or
sorry. So it's just a typical,
I don't know, they call sausages
British dinner, like, with onion gravy.
Some bubble and squeak.
It's called bangers. Sausages.
Bubble and squeak.
Bubble and squeak is like the beans with like the sausage.
I thought it was champagne. I would have thought it was champagne.
That's what I thought. What is bubble and squeak?
Bubble and squeak, it's like a sausage cooked with like a bunch of beans, and I've had it with like potato. It was pretty tasty.
Mm-hmm.
It's like pub food usually.
Okay, I have to try that.
I hope I don't get dragged by like an expert on this now.
No, listen, you're the chef, so just that's your creative arena, and that's what you do. Like, who can say anything? Okay, so we are just going to move into our topics for this episode and this week. So the first one, the weekly dilemma, was dating or marrying outside of your normal traditions, culture, or religion. And this just came about like a topical conversation. Meghan and Harry were all over the media again, as usual. And this time it was because they had a very controversial tell-all interview with Oprah. To be honest, up until this point, they've never really had the opportunity to tell their side of the story. So it was good for us to hear, good for me to hear exactly what was going on. And to be honest, I was very shocked by some of the revelations. The fact that Meghan was actually going through depression. She had no support from the royal family. And obviously all we have seen in the British media, and also I'm sure internationally, is negative press about Meghan, and the whole sentiment that Harry has now left the country and left the royal family to be with Meghan. But we just wanted to unpack the reasons why he did that, and just talk a little bit more about Harry and his family. He's now married. He has a child and another one on the way. He has a new family. So the view is, in the media, Harry has abandoned or left his maternal and paternal family to start a new life with his wife. And that's sort of how the media is trying to spin it. But is it that Harry is actually trying to protect his new family that he has created? And at what point do you draw the line to step up and then protect what it is that you have and what you're trying to create for the sake of your family? And when do you then draw the line? Because obviously it now looks as if he is pretty much away from the royal family. They're no longer going to be senior members. They've, reduced all the financial support, removed security, things like that. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the responses that we had on this topic. A lot of the sentiment was around, obviously, good on Harry for what he did. He's protecting his family. But, we did have a controversial opinion come through, which, you know what, this person had really good points. I can't say that I agree with them, but I totally understand where they're coming from. And their perspective was that, yes, Harry should do what he needs to do to protect his family and remove them from a bad situation. However, doing the interview potentially just undid everything that they were trying to do in the first place. So they were trying to remove themselves from the public eye, trying to remove themselves from the media. But now going and having this interview and talking about their family, which is the royal family, now seemed to make them even more estranged. So at what point do you defend your family, keep defending your family? But then has he now thrown away his maternal and paternal family? And what will he do now without that support? And his controversial opinion is, well, what if it doesn't work out between them? He now doesn't have another family to go back to. So I would really love to just ask you both, Janu and Taylor, to just talk about your story, because it's somewhat similar, where you both married a bit outside of your normal traditions and cultures. It would be great to hear how your family accepted or didn't accept this, and what it was that you did to, overcome any obstacles that you had.
Do you want to go first? So I'm Tamil. My family came here as refugees to escape genocide. So there's a lot of push to preserve our culture. And I mean, we talk about this often. I think if I had met a really fantastic Tamil guy that I could see it working out with long term, that could teach me more about the culture and whatever, I probably would have ended up with that person. But I fell in love with my best friend, so here we are, and I don't regret it at all.
I fell in love with him. I was still around.
Yeah, I mean, I can't talk about him. Fell out of love very quickly. In that sitch. But yeah, I didn't, we were best friends for quite some time, and then it became a situationship. And
entanglement.
A little bit of, you can call it that. And then we ended up together. My mom is she's not a racist. I don't know how else to put it other than tell it like it is. So she had no issue, obviously. She wanted to see me happy. She knew that Taylor is a catch. I don't say those words out loud often, you got to humble them a little bit. But she was very happy, and my sisters were incredibly happy as well. I did have some extended family that had some issues, but I've been pretty vocal. My mom's a single mom, so they weren't exactly supportive of my mother's decision to leave an abusive situation. It's very you stick it out with your husband no matter what till the wheels fall off. And my mom wasn't trying to let the wheels fall off because she had places to go and people to see. So with that, it was a very easy decision for me, because I'm you don't have the same values and views that I have. I absolutely believe that women should be empowered. This is not aligning with that. I don't believe that Black people are inherently less I don't know, the anti-Blackness in our community is very rampant, and I don't agree with that or align with that at all. And additionally, we do want to start a family, outside of just us two. We want to have little ones, and our kids people are not going to identify them as Tamil first, and that's just the world we live in. So I don't want to expose them to hate on such an intimate level with family. So I guess Coles notes that it was a really easy decision for me, because I don't really like racist people. So I was
So you didn't really come across any resistance then with your relationship. I think it sounded like it was, a quite easy decision, not just for you, but for your family.
I'll let them talk to the difficult.
Okay.
It wasn't really difficulties. What?
Wow, that's fine.
My family? Yeah, I don't like them. I don't talk to them. It was hard emotionally, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm talking about tables, nothing.
Yeah, I've gotten into. Okay, so if I'm gonna be completely real, it wasn't that easy. I've gotten into it. I flipped a dinner table once and walked out.
Okay.
I didn't walk back in again.
Was that because of
Yeah, someone called him the equivalent of the N-word in my language, and I walked out. I didn't walk back in, and I haven't spoken to him since. And I have no regrets.
That's good.
Been in spaces with him where someone made a comment, and I was put your food down right now. And I remember his face. I know he was so hungry. It was his first bite, and he was and I was put your food down right now. And he was looking at me can I? And I was no, put your food down right now. We're leaving. And that was that. I was it was really nice seeing you guys. Bye. And I haven't seen them since either, but you know, like those difficulties, I guess I don't see them as difficulties because I'm like, you're so unworthy of being in the same space as him and breathing the air he breathes. He's such a good man. Like, he's so good to me. I have never met anybody like Taylor, and I know that I never will. And not like very unbiased. It's going to sound biased, but I swear to God, it's not. I actually don't think that anybody could love anybody the way he loves me. I think it's so impossible. When I see people talk about their relationships, I'm like, man, it really sucks it. You will never know what this feels like. And my hope is that everybody feels what I feel with how he is with me. And I mean, I hope you feel that way about me.
Right.
I love it.
But yeah, it's like, it's an easy decision for me, but I can imagine, I guess I can't really imagine. I can try to empathize how it feels for him. Like, he probably spent his entire life by trying to validate his existence as a Black man. So to now be in an intimate relationship with someone who has family, who sees you as less than, like, even if I'm riding for him, I'm sure it's not easy.
Pretty carefree person. I don't really think about that much. If someone's not important to me, they're not really in my mind. I don't really let it get to me. My family, my mom's not racist in any sort of way, so I
don't think Black people can be racist.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, she's just like, you know, be with
There's
someone,
no prejudice,
be happy. But I'm not gonna lie, one thing she said to me when I was really young was like, always be careful with white women, which is, unfortunately, you have to say that just because as a Black man, if anything goes wrong, a plethora of things could happen to me. I could be thrown in jail, like anything. So I always stayed very cautious with them. I wouldn't say that our area that we grew up in was basically mainly Black people and brown people, whether they're Indian, Punjabi, had a couple Tamil friends. So me bringing home a girl that was South Asian was not crazy to them at all. But since my mom's not racist, she's very religious. So she was worried that Janu was like Hindu or Muslim and I was going to have to convert.
I totally forgot about that.
So I just didn't feel like shaving for a long time. And
that was fun. Like, it was funny though. I wouldn't call that a difficulty.
No, it's just ridiculous. So, are you turning Muslim now? And I'm like, yes, Mom. Assalamu alaikum. Like, what are you talking about? No, like I'm not a very religious person. I'm very spiritual. So I don't think she realizes that there's nothing to like convert me out of or convert to. You know? But yeah, definitely, I'd say that was her biggest worry, is that I was going to stop being a child of Jesus Christ, even though that happened probably a long time ago.
Stop it.
So if she watches this, I'm screwed.
Has she ever wondered, like, or asked you what you would do with your children? Like, how she ever wondered how you would, like, what religion would your children be if you're both from different backgrounds?
She's probably wondered, but like the type of person I am, unfortunately for her, I'd be like, you don't really have a say. Whatever my kids feel like doing, they're going to do.
You sound so nonchalant towards, you know what? I have to clarify. This guy will drive hours just to rake his mom's lawn.
Okay? Oh, I love my mom. Sure. No.
The way you're like, yo, I don't care. And I'm like,
no. Opinions. Like,
that's true.
Like, I'm girl.
But I feel like
you have that relationship.
So, like my mom's extremely Christian as well. Like she grew up in a very Catholic part of Sri Lanka or I guess like Elam. And she thought that he wasn't like devout. And I was like, have you like seen your child? Like, how are you going to sit here asking me if he's going to like, you know, be like a good Catholic / Christian man, and I'm really like out here living my life, like living la vida loca. Can't do that. But I think that was a difficulty. I think the only stressor for me, at least on your side, was when everyone was like, "You're gonna ruin your friendship."
Yeah, that was definitely.
That was hard.
That was a thing.
That was like really.
So it was
difficult.
Friends, really. That.
Yeah. Like, you guys are best friends. You have an incredible relationship, and we did, and we still do, thankfully. But at the time, it's like we were out together all the time. Anywhere, like if you wanted to reach me, you call Taylor. If you wanted to reach Taylor, you call me.
We were dating other people, so
yeah,
it probably was a little awkward.
And yeah. If I was the other people, I wouldn't have dated us, because I'd be like, this is weird. Like, there's tension that's unspoken. I think we didn't really it was so platonic though. It was so nice.
So it's literally friends and lovers, like, basically.
But like I felt like it was just so I've never had a friend like him.
I put myself in the friend zone in order to hop out gracefully, like later. And
I've never heard of a man intentionally putting themselves in the
lie,
No, see, you have to be slick.
Play the long game,
Exactly.
You both sound so problematic.
Play the long game. It works.
Are you sure about that? Because I feel like that's just what you think. I really do feel like
they have never come out.
Yeah, but listen, even Usher sings about it. Usher sings about it as well.
Yeah,
you make me wanna.
You plant the little
unpack the lyrics.
You said you make me wanna. That song.
That's actually one of our songs. I play it around her so she knows.
I didn't process until like much later. I was like, oh my god.
Slowly plant the seeds, water, and then something.
I literally sound like an evil line.
I am. And look how happy we are now.
This is the first time I've actually seen a man successfully come out of the friend zone. Like, well done. Because that
was always my podcast.
Really?
No, it wasn't. His move was always just to be like, look, I'm not looking for anything serious, but he's like really nice and gentlemanly, so
and then you can't help it.
People call feelings very easily, and he'd call me stressed. Like, I don't know what I did, and I'm like, why are you asking her how her day is?
Because I'm not an asshole. I know how you're doing.
Meanwhile, he's telling me like I'm an asshole because people ask me how my day is, and I'm like, why are you contacting me before 9 p.m.? It's stop.
We sound so similar. I always unintentionally.
This is outside business hours.
Put men in the friend zone, and I really don't mean to do it. And then they're always like, "Oh shit, I'm here now. How do I get out?" And I'm always like, "Oh, how do I get you out of the friend zone?" And then like it just yeah.
You see that?
Tell them to call me. I run a class.
It was a dad.
How to get out of the friend zone with Taylor. No, definitely. But,
this is why I wanted these guys on the podcast as well, because 90% of the conversations we had on Clubhouse, Janu was basically talking about Taylor and their relationship and how they grew up, etc. And I was just like, this just sounds like amazing, and their dynamic just sounds amazing. And it was just, I'd love for people to see it and hear it.
Exactly. But it does sound like, you basically had a lot of support. But in the case of like with many people, unfortunately with Meghan and Harry, but with a lot of people, they would definitely see a lot of resistance, especially from their family. Yeah. What would you actually do if your parents gave you an ultimatum, like either of your parents, if they said,
So I ultimatums are so manipulative.
Super. But I'd laugh. I know myself. I would laugh in that moment. I'd be like, "You serious?" Be like, "All right, peace."
I'd probably give an ultimatum back. Like, I think that we're both like the hard heads of our respective families.
Oh my God, I guess you don't like seeing grandkids later. Like, what's wrong with you?
I'm good.
It's unfortunate, but that's basically what happened with Meghan and Harry. Their ultimatum was, we are actually going to remove which they did. They removed their security. And they're removing their royal title
around. Like, you know how you said that person was like, what happens if they break up? Like, probably like good riddance on both ends then, I guess. Like, you have a relationship that's not for you anymore. You're walking away. Your family gave you an ultimatum and put your safety at risk.
Yeah, they showed you that they don't care.
They're both obviously in the public eye. They both obviously, like, Meghan left her work to align herself with like their lifestyle.
She left Toronto.
Yeah.
She can't even be Miss Goring anymore.
I mean, this situation has actually
it's okay. I'm sorry.
Even happened with me. Like, I had a relationship once with a very strict Muslim man I really loved him. I do believe that he's probably the only man that I've ever loved, to be honest. He was my best friend. Is still a really good friend of mine. He was Moroccan, and his family actually were okay, I think, with me not being Muslim, not being religious, also not being Moroccan, also being a black woman. But my family, on the other hand, were just a little bit, he's Muslim. Like, is he going to convert you? Is he going to this? Is he going to that? How are you going to raise your children? And it did put me in a difficult position. We didn't work out in the end, but I definitely don't think it was because of any outside influence or because of our family, and to the point that we are actually still good friends now. I think it just didn't work because of ourselves, just our own personalities. We're both Taurus, and I don't know if you follow that type of thing, but I think like two really strong-headed people, it either really is beautiful or it's like, that it was a little bit like this or maybe too much for us both. But
it's funny.
It's really.
Sorry to interject. I was going to say, it's funny you say that, because Janu and her sisters did a room where basically they'd ask questions to people and try and guess their star signs based off of the questions that they asked. And Janu basically killed it. Like, she smoked her cousins.
I don't know anything about what I was doing. I was just making shit up. I was like, you drink coffee and listen to Future, you're definitely a Scorpio.
That is actually funny. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been scientifically proven that star signs don't actually work. But, sometimes I just like to think, okay, I'm a Taurus, so I am headstrong, I am this, I am that. But, just for a few personal clashes and nothing to do with religion or culture. He absolutely adored me for who I was. He always says, Violet, I love you for how you are. And I also loved him for how he was. I love that he was Muslim. I loved his culture. He's a very, he very much loved being Moroccan, being where he was from. And me, I'm Jamaican, and like everyone should know, like I love being who I am. I think I'm unapologetically black. And he loved that about me. I think we loved the differences in each other. But I do sympathize with what's going on, and I think it's really unfortunate for Meghan and Harry. And I do feel, it's a bit difficult for other people in situations like this. But
I know this is like,
no.
So basically it's like, I suppose what's happening with the crown and the monarchy. And in an interview, like Harry kind of like alluded to, like, he wasn't really saying it, but it just gave me the vibe that I'm like, hey, like this just seems like a nice version of what's actually happening. But also, I wasn't even processing things that could happen behind the scenes until I watched a freaking stupid show on Netflix. But after that, seeing, clips of that interview, I'm like, I don't actually know what happened behind the scenes to push you to do this interview. I don't know what's happening. I don't know who's saying what to you. I'm like, the comments on like how your kids are going to look, or, not giving her help with her mental health and having her feel specific ways when pregnant. Not just, general as a human being, you deserve to be supported and loved, but that was just like messed. And him saying he didn't want to, he lost his mom, and it was blasted for the world to see. And now with his wife and his child, like, I think that he did a really valiant thing. And I mean, even Diana has said, like, they'll take care of the heir and I'll take care of the spirit. Do you know what I mean? Like, to me, I'm like, okay. And she did, she left them. She left him money. Yeah. It's like she knew this would happen. And at that point, it's like, are people that treat you that way your family? Like, how do you define family? Like, there are people that you share, I guess, bloodlines with, but like,
it could be trash.
Yeah, and there's even things.
My dad's trash.
There's things that, I mean, I think historically within Janu and myself, because we're both Tamil, our community from back home, like historically there's been stuff such as like, not so much for interracial relationships, just more like we have what's called a caste system. So historically there'll be people that were priests, farmers, etc., and there'll be like a hierarchy system of sorts. And if you married higher or lower than that, then it would basically be, well, Johnny may have to interject here because I only know really a sort of surface level
communicated from your community. Like my dad was like, I guess the priest, like he was a Brahmin and he married someone who was Catholic and who was from like a lower caste than him. And he had to like appeal to his family. Like, she's just like one thing less than us. Like, that's it. That's it. Her family's like, they're educated, they're this, they're that, as if that would increase the value of someone's existence and just worth as a human. It was messed. And like for a long time, like they didn't talk to my dad, and my mom was respectively treated like crap, which I think, you know, all of that feeding into the fact that like my parents just didn't sync after, you know, being together so young. Like it really put my mom, like it isolated her. The community isolated her because you made this decision to get into a relationship with someone you weren't supposed to be with, you know, and then you split. So now look what happened, and now you have 3 girls. So it's I feel like it's kind of like an extreme tale, but it's not really. Like I'm sure there's more extreme stories. Like,
yeah, because I think there's things such as,
right?
yeah, I think there's things such as like honor killings where basically people will take it. Yeah, sorry, trigger warning for anyone listening. But yeah, there'll be cases where, I mean, I don't know exactly, but it's just, this is basically off a Netflix show that I watched that was basically trying to highlight taboo topics within our community, and one of them was about marrying outside your caste, and then they end up killing the individual that she wants to marry, and then killing the daughter as well. And it was the dad that did this, and it was just, yeah,
it's okay. It's not funny. It's weird, but I was gonna say it's funny. It's definitely not. But you know, my dad would grow up telling me that if I ended up with someone, because I grew up like where Taylor grew up around a lot of Black and brown folks. I grew up around a lot of Black folks and like maybe some Southeast Asian, South American. Like I didn't really grow up around a lot of brown people.
She's in the hood.
It was actually a really lovely space to grow up. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was very rich in cultures, and there was everybody and like maybe random white folks, but I never felt like the odd one out. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, you grow up seeing that. That's what you see as beautiful and attractive. Like you start to like, I was finding those people around me attractive. I wasn't naturally gravitating, I guess, towards South Asian men because I wasn't really seeing anybody that I was attracted to. Like the only South Asian men I saw were my family. And I'm like, I mean, I don't want to be with them. So,
I think that's a really good segue into our
next topic
actually.
Yeah.
So I'll just hand over to Paz.
But yeah, sorry. So that your latest point kind of sort of segues into our next topic, which was dating preferences versus prejudice. So this sort of came about because there's a UK rapper called Dave, and he was photographed with in Dubai with several light-skinned women, white women on a yacht party sort of thing. And sort of UK Twitter went off saying Dave talks about loving Black women, etc., but he's being a bit of a hypocrite. So that's kind of why we sort of decided to talk about it kind of sparked the conversation of the whole preferences versus prejudices things, and what you said about the whole what you grow up around, what you're surrounded by, that kind of impacts what your quote unquote type is because of what you're used to. So a lot of the responses that we had were in agreement that there's nothing wrong with having a preference, but it can be problematic when it falls outside your race and could be a sign of sort of underlying prejudice. And I think Violet, you said you had one response that you wanted to discuss, right? About
so basically most people just agreed that, you know, there's okay, like you can have a preference. There's nothing wrong with having preferences. Some people just date, you know, anyone that is attractive, and I'm pretty much like that. I'll date anyone that's attractive to me. I think the issue that they had was when it's exclusively dating someone that is outside of what they are. So, and you know, they might see that as some kind of indication of, okay, are you okay with how you are? Because how can you exclusively only date one type or several types, and none of those types is like where you're from or who you are. But I I had a very good point come through from one of the responses to say, you know, there could be several reasons why they choose not to date their own race. And as much as, you know, I do feel like they're valid points. I can't say that I agree with them, but they're definitely valid. And I definitely see from that perspective, like, if, you know, it could be a situation where they've had very terrible experiences with partners of their own race, and it could have left some kind of trauma. Or like you mentioned before, where you've grown up, you were pretty much around Black and brown people. So automatically you've become very much attracted to what you've grown up around. So they were saying that it's basically nature versus nurture situation. And most times nurture wins because it then becomes a habit, right? And habits are hard to break. So let's say you've grown up all your life and you've been in a predominantly white area or a predominantly Black area or predominantly whatever area. And the standard of beauty for you is going to be what you have seen or what you're used to. And it also happens with the media that we consume as well. So I actually spent a lot of my years growing up in Jamaica, but I do remember watching TV as a child, and we only had 2 national Jamaican stations, but thousands of American channels. So all of the media that I was consuming was American media. So watching MTV, VH1, and all those channels. For me, my self-image at the time, or any image I had of beauty, was whatever was shown to me. So it would be the girls that were in Beverly Hills or 90210 or things like that. Regardless of what color they were or what race they were, I just felt like, okay, well, that's what I'm seeing. So that was a good point. Another perspective from someone else is that this lady, this girl, she only dates white men. And the reason why, and she's Black, and the reason why is because she actually felt that she is constantly, she never said these words, but similar to something that I think Pav wants to touch on. But what happens if you're constantly rejected by your own race, or you felt that, okay, I'm a Black woman and Black men don't like me for how I am, and then what do you do if the attention that you get is from white men and you get positive attention? I can actually attest to you. I used to actually have real dreads. These are fake ones. I used to have real dreads years ago. And to be honest, I used to get the most attention from white men. And there were Black men and Black, even adults, who used to say horrible things about my dreads. I remember dating a guy and his mother actually said, you know, why would a pretty girl like that do that horrible thing to her hair? Maybe she stinks. And something like stuff like that sticks with me, you know, like how can you then assume or say that I am a certain way because of my hair, because of how I am? So then what do you do if you are rejected by your own, you know? And I'll just let Pav answer that one.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to touch on this one because for me, growing up, I went to like Tamil school and stuff. So bear in mind, I hadn't quite reached the level of source that I have right now. Do you know what I mean? That was the joke, by the way. You're meant to laugh. All right, cool. Yeah, so I went to Tamil school, and like, obviously I grew up in a very white area. And for me, that was all I was used to, like just white women around me. So I think naturally just was attracted to them just because that's all I saw around me. And then I went to Tamil school, and then I was like, I did try and chat to Tamil girls and stuff, but I was kind of made fun of by them and by Tamil men as well. Like, and it kind of, I guess, left a sour taste in my mouth just because I was like, they're being so mean to me. And yeah, kind of. And it wasn't necessarily just Tamil women, or it was just any Asian. So in the UK, we say Asian as anyone brown, basically. So any Asian women in general, it was just that I came across, it was the same sort of thing. Then when I went to university, that's when I sort of started embracing my other side a bit more, because there was a lot more sort of Asian people there that I would connect with and chat to and stuff. And they were a bit more like welcoming of me and understanding that I didn't know certain things that I probably should know about, etc. And then only really moving. Sorry, go on, Johnny.
you had a different upbringing.
Yeah, exactly. And then only really moving to Toronto have I really started embracing my Tamil side, because I didn't have many Tamil friends. I can break count on my fingers how many Tamil friends I had in the UK, and even the ones that I had weren't like so Tamil, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree with the whole nature versus nurture thing, because definitely growing up, I wouldn't say my type was white women. It was just more like that was all that was available, and naturally you end up dating them, right? So yeah, I definitely do agree with that point, but I do kind of agree to this a certain point, like, because you're rejected by your own kind, you're kind of like, okay, if they don't like me, then why am I bothering, kind of thing. So I understand that mentality as well, because it's kind of like, why would I bother putting myself out there if I'm going to get rejected, and it's going to affect my self-esteem, and I'm going to overthink things and whatever. Whereas there's a whole different plethora of women out there that could potentially find me attractive for me. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. For me, like I said, I definitely understand and do agree with those points as well. But I just think it becomes problematic when you decide that you don't want to date your own race, but you then decide that you have to denounce your own race and also be derogatory towards your race in order to justify the reason why you don't want to. Yeah. That's when it becomes an issue for me, because is there an issue? Like, do you not like looking at yourself? What about your mum? What about your dad? What about your siblings? You know, what is the issue there? And that's for me when it becomes, that's my own opinion. That's when it becomes problematic. And it'd be good to hear your perspective.
I should probably throw a caveat out there, being like, this is not all women. This is just like my experience, and this is just me. Like, I'm not saying there's obviously good and bad everywhere, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. I grew up, again, like I said, around a bunch of Black and brown women. But again, as you know, in the South Asian culture, it's very racist. So many girls turn me down just for the sheer fact that I'm Black. They'd be like, yeah, you're cute, but like my parents would never let me. Wasn't allowed in houses and stuff like that. Old ladies crossing the street when I'm like,
wow.
And I'm like a kid. I'm like 9, 10 years old, like, and ladies are scared of me. So it was a little weird, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I was like an ugly kid.
You were.
I had like a weird phase, but I was cute. I was cute, you know. But yeah, even though I was around so many like Black and brown women, they'd always have crushes on me, but no one would ever want to like date me. Hold on. No, but it's like the real thing. It's like no one would. I wasn't like the super cool guy. Like I was a class clown. But yeah, they wouldn't want to date me. And like even in middle school, I think there was literally like 4 or 5 white people in my graduating class, and like one of them actually was like, oh, like I think you're XYZ, and like we started dating. I was like, oh wow, this is weird. Like the freaking super hot girl who said she likes me but tries to like punch me every recess doesn't do this. I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But even that being said, I went to all white high school, and like that cemented it. I was like, nah, I'm good. I don't. It's not for me. It's not it. Again, I'm not trying to generalize. I have white friends. I know.
Wow.
In reverse.
But like, legit,
that's
like,
hilarious.
I don't have a problem with white people. I do think there's many beautiful white women on the street. But like, if I have to choose between a pretty white woman and a pretty Black or brown woman, probably choosing the Black woman. Sorry, babe.
No, you don't have to apologize at all.
It's just, yeah, it's more comfortable to me. I feel like there's less to have to explain or teach. Because again, everybody's going to have their own ways they were brought up. Microaggressions, things like that they don't even know are ignorant or racist. Yeah. They're just like fetishizing you by accident and not even realizing it. So like, it's just easier in general.
Love is not supposed to be hard.
Yeah. So I definitely say that my upbringing did change my views on like what I find innately attractive, but then my experiences kind of, I'd say, helped cement it. So yeah.
Interesting. I, for a long time, was really scared of dating Tamil men. Daddy issues. But I I think also like uncle issues and like cousin issues. Like I just had really bad experiences with men from my community that were meant to protect me, meant to love me. And we're looking at like, I guess, roles and responsibilities. I don't know. Like nobody really owes you anything, but you know, I feel like you're supposed to be kind to your children.
Definitely.
Yeah, that definitely made it really difficult. And I think that I'm kind of a loudmouth. And I don't know that that's necessarily like a trait that fit the like ideal like Tamil girl, if that makes sense. Pav could probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they kind of want, I don't like this term, but yes, women, like they'll just be like, yes, sir, no, sir, kind of thing.
I mean, I'm sure there are men out there that like want to be with someone who has an opinion and isn't afraid to like share it. But I didn't really meet those Tamil guys until after Taylor. Like in another life, maybe I'm married to Pav. Who knows? But I actually told Pav, I was like, Pav, if I wasn't married, 100p, I'd be sliding in your DMs because like our views align.
Look at that. Pav's there thinking he's not old. Yeah, Pav. It's the man bun. It's the man bun.
Allow it, man.
Taylor being like,
love it. I love the man bun.
But yeah, no, it wasn't until more recently that I was like, oh, like there are these men exist where they are pro-Black, they're pro-Tamil, they're pro-women, they're really in support of like the queer community. Like I hadn't met people with those political views, and that's really important for me. I think in any situation or relationship, be it friendship and whatnot, because I just don't want to be with someone who doesn't value all life. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I can't. It's a point of like, ugh, for me. And I have no problem educating and teaching, but it's like do I have to do that every day? Do you know what I mean? So I'll do that now in like open spaces on Clubhouse. I do it often. And I'm like, no, that's like problematic. That's fucked up. Yeah. I'll speak up, but like, how can I be attracted to someone who is always anti-Black? How can I be attracted to someone who's transphobic? Like, it's really difficult for me. And that's what I saw growing up. So I wasn't like, oh yeah, like totally like you. You seem like an abusive shit. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that like I was like actively avoiding Tamil people, but I definitely just was like, you're going to hurt me, or you're going to hurt people around you, be it verbally, physically. And I don't want that. I don't want that life. And then I did meet a really lovely Tamil man, and I was with him for quite some time. And, you know, we shared so many views and it was lovely. But then when it came time to like meet the parents, it's like, cover your tattoos, like make sure you grow your hair out. And then it started kind of hitting it, and, you know, it didn't work out. And I'm better for it. Like, no offense to him or anyone, but it's.
I'm a catch. What can I say?
You are. You know, I guess like in terms of that, but would I be opposed to it? Like, you know, like I said, like I met Pav, I met a handful of other guys that are Tamil, and I'm like, wow, like, where the hell were you guys? You know, it would have been so cool to learn more about my culture and language with people. But it's nice to do that with someone who cares, respectful as 100%. Well. You know what I mean? We learn together. I'm not like a genius at everything Tamil. And when I find things out, I'm like, oh, Taylor, did you know XYZ? And he's like, no, obviously I did not know. But he remembers it because we hopefully, you know, God willing, will be raising like Black and Tamil babies. You know, and
I'm excited for that. I'm not gonna lie.
He's gonna be such a good dad because he does such a good job of listening to my experiences, and I do my very best to listen and empathize as well. But in terms of other dating preferences, I have to align with Taylor. Like, it was really difficult for me to date white men. I had two experiences with, I guess, like, I want to say longer term, but like one of them asked me if I sacrificed blood because something he Googled, and I was like, what extreme? Like, yeah, this is like cult. And I'm like, why are you looking up cults in India? I'm not from India, first of all. Secondly, I'm not part of a cult. Like, why are you, what? It was very weird. So that didn't work out. And the next person, I just think that he didn't understand my family dynamic. We're very family oriented as people. You know, like, you take care of your siblings, you support your parents, you honor your parents and your elders. Like, I would call everybody older than me Akka and Anna, like big brother, big sister, auntie and uncle. Like, I'm not calling people by their first names. Like, I don't do that. So it's like, I remember one conversation where I was like, I have to watch my sister. I can't hang out. Well, she's not your kid. Why doesn't your mom just do it or find a babysitter? In that moment, I remember calling Taylor and I was like, yo, can you believe XYZ said this? And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. He's like, no, that's fucked up. And I was like, yeah, right. I felt like he was looking at me funny because I was like, what's wrong with you? I just, yeah, I mean, I've met really wonderful white men since, and I've been on dates with white men pre-Taylor, and it was lovely. For me, it's like your way of life and your values are important. So
yeah,
I can't say I've avoided like races since I started going to therapy.
Yeah.
Thing is, even
like values, you know?
Yeah. Thing is, like, even last year with the whole Black Lives Matter, with what happened, etc., like, I think a lot of people had sort of friction in their relationships because they hadn't discussed that sort of stuff before, and there was a lot of like, oh wait, you feel like this, you don't agree with what I'm saying, kind of thing. And I think you saw a lot of that, especially on social media. There was a lot of like tension there. But going back to your point about sort of Tamil men, I mean, I've not known many Tamil men in my life, and like I said, I had a sour taste in my mouth from my experiences with sort of fellow Tamils growing up. But moving here and hearing sort of the different stories and what people have been through, obviously I'm not saying every Tamil man's bad or whatever, like there's good eggs and bad eggs, right? But yeah, there's definitely been a lot of sort of trauma, I think, that's been associated. And I think if it wasn't a case of cultural sort of pressure, I think no one would probably want to marry a Tamil man, to be honest with you, if I'm being frank. Like, and I can admit that as well, because it's like, I've seen it, and I've heard, like, even on Clubhouse, like Janu and I have seen several men that just are so tunnel vision, they won't want to like change their views about anything, and they'll say problematic stuff and they won't see it as problematic. They'll be like, no, it's fine, because like the whole I've got black friends, I can say the N-word and blah blah blah, like that kind of thing. And I'm like, how do you not hear what you're saying, kind of thing? There's just so much, like, and I've even stopped going on Clubhouse now just because there's just so much nonsense that I'm just like, I can't be bothered. It's just, and like, I respect Janu highly because she puts herself out there, she tries so hard to educate people. And sorry,
I respect you highly.
Oh, thank you. But she just puts herself out there, and even if she knows that, like with me, I know that it's going to fall on deaf ears, so I don't even bother. And whereas she's like,
what?
No, I do need to stop though, because I just want better for my people. I'm like, it's 2021. What the fuck are you know? We're such a beautiful community. We have such a rich culture, history, like practices, like it's so beautiful. Why are we doing ourselves a disservice by being hateful towards other groups of people? Like, we know what it's like to be hated, and like there's still a genocide happening. Like, the UN has apologized, and now it's still impacting Tamil people back home, and it's like, why do we have to be like this? You know what I mean? So that's why I try to say things and do things and push for change. And I don't know that it's working, but you know,
I think it's got to be like a little bit of time, right? You got to chip away at it, kind of thing. But no, there's not even necessarily that within our community. There's just been things I've heard about emotional abuse, physical abuse, stuff like that from people. And then there's a lot of like, last year, this is a trigger warning, by the way, as well, but last year there was a lot of sexual assault stuff that had happened within our community, and it was just like so many women, like one woman came out and then it started a domino effect, and there was just several women calling out the same individuals and then different individuals that were all just being just predators, basically. And
women don't have like the autonomy over their bodies and their senses of self. And I mean, just even like have, like, to your point on like how men are with women, like skin tone colorism. I thought I was ugly. I believed somebody when they were like, I'm not fair enough. You know, my hair
Wow.
is this and
That's
that.
insane.
I'm
You're gorgeous.
tall. Oh, thank you so much. Like, I'm too tall. You know, I'm too much. I've heard that so much and started believing it. And Taylor was actually the first person that told me he liked my skin. He was like, no, it's really nice. And he still compliments me. And it was such a shock. I remember telling him, and he was shocked that people had said those things about me. But like, I was shocked that like, he was like, no, it's nice, you know, and I don't like try to hide from the sun, which I was like,
and that's in your own community that you're getting that
like,
as well. That just makes it worse.
You know, I mean, you could share more, I guess, but like there were moments where I was like so petrified of being out in the sun. I didn't start tanning till him. Do you know what I mean? I was scared.
Some melanin.
He does.
Melanin is our gift, you know. Like, guys, I'm not wearing any foundation. Like, I'm in Jamaica.
That Jamaican glow, yeah?
Literally, Jamaican glow. I'm like, the first thing I wanted to do when I got here was like, okay, I need to go in the sun and tan, because it's our friend. Like,
I do have concealer on,
beach,
but
water, and sun.
I'm not wearing foundation either. And before I would like try to, you know.
Violet's been in Jamaica now? It's been about a month now, right? You've been in Jamaica for about a month now, right?
Almost a month, yeah.
Yeah, and like as soon as she landed, all she's doing is sending me videos of the beach and like anything that could be a voice note. She's like, "No, let me send a video and show." I'm like,
yeah. Honestly, melanin of our gift.
I would send video notes too.
I will share if you want it, but it's unfortunate that, you know, we are ostracized for things that are natural and normal to us. Like, what you had with your skin is what I have with my hair, with my, you know, my weight, and things like that. It's, you know, but this is just how we are. And I think as soon as we can all accept that everyone's different, not everyone is the same. How boring and bland would the world be if everyone was like the same color, the same size, the same height? Like, you know, the differences is what makes it beautiful. And I can say from my perspective, I don't think I do have a preference. Like, above all, I would definitely always go with a black man first. But I also date everyone else. I will definitely date anyone. Who I will not date, or what I will not stand for, I do not want to be anyone's fetish or anyone's experiment. So I'm very cautious. I will definitely just listen to the things you're saying. And if I feel that you are trying to get with me because you want to see what it's like to date a black woman, or see what it's like to date a Jamaican woman. Oh, I hear Jamaican women are this, and oh, you should be freaky, or, you know, you should be flexible, and because you can whine and you can, yeah, no. If that's why you're trying to, you can go experiment with someone else, but not with me.
No one ever says these things about Tamil men, just saying. There's no fetish for Tamil men. It's just, we just exist. We're just here. We out here.
That's so funny. I mean, it's not funny. It's funny. I'm sorry.
It's hilarious.
Pavin's gonna put Tamil men on the spec. Like, you're now on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the man bun. You're gonna see men with man bun.
Taylor, like, it's just gonna be him though.
What was that?
Taylor's like, it's just gonna be him though.
Be one.
I'm sure there's plenty Pams out there, though. That's the thing. They need to just come out with it. It sounds like it's just the misogynistic, racist ones that are on Clubhouse, but I'm sure there's good and bad in every race. I'm sure the good ones are out there.
It's not even that they're on Clubhouse. They're just the ones that are more vocal, to be honest. They're like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, you know, the good ones are in the background having the same opinions as you guys.
You've definitely fetishized, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like.
Yeah. I mean, fetishization versus appreciation was definitely one of our weekly dilemma topics, which was last week.
Yeah.
And we actually just decided not to cover that in this episode because we just think it's such a big topic and we need to definitely get it.
It needs its own.
Yeah, we're going to just probably focus on that for the next episode because there is so much to cover. You know, where is there a fine line? I personally think there's a fine line, and not a fine line, it's a clear line. Just don't cross the line. But we'll definitely discuss that in the next episode. But I'm just going to conclude for today. I just think in conclusion, I definitely think you can date whoever you like. And there will obviously be reasons why, you fell for each other, whether it's, you want to date someone who's, from a different culture as you, from a different religion as you, from the same sex as you. You do what you like who you like. You can't help who you like.
Yeah.
But this should only become problematic, or is only problematic, if you then start to or have to denounce or degrade another group in order to validate your choice. And I think that is where it becomes problematic. Also, definitely having your maternal and paternal family is important. However, when you decide to take someone as your partner, as your husband, as your wife, they now should become a priority. You have to now stand with your family. You started a new family. You have to protect them. That could include maybe removing them from a toxic situation, calling out, someone if they say something wrong, regardless of who it is. It could be a really close friend or family. But with saying that, definitely be careful, I think, not to destroy relationships with your family.
So just going to wrap it up. Guys, thank you so much for being on our first episode. We appreciate it so much. And you guys have been amazing guests. And please, if you ever would like to come back, we are more than happy to have you back.
Happy to do that.
Just make sure you guys get my good side.
We'll give you more notice next time. So I just want to sort of sum up to the listeners that there are no right or wrong answers or opinions. We're just here to share different perspectives from the listeners and from our followers on social media, and we hope that everyone, including ourselves, have taken something away from the discussion. That's what our plan is for the podcast, that everyone sort of learns something, listens to different opinions, and appreciates people's various perspectives. Thank you all for listening to Let the Jameson Sink In. We appreciate all the love and support. If you'd like to take part in the next month's podcast episode, just remember to follow us at letthejameson.podcast on all platforms. Reply to us in our inbox with your anonymous responses to the weekly dilemmas, and don't forget to tune in on the last Sunday of every month for the podcast episode. We're your hosts, Pav and Violet, and thank you for listening. Always drink and share responsibly. Bye, guys.
Later.
Thank you.
To send in your anonymous responses to the weekly dilemma and to get a preview of the next episode's topics, follow us at letthejameson.podcast on all platforms. We're your hosts, Pav and Violet. Thank you for listening. Always drink and share responsibly.